She is a columnist for the leading monthly publication UFO magazine and a journalist producer at Jerry Pippin's internet radio show. She is also a writer for Italian X Times magazine and British UFO Matrix magazine. Though her work reflects a passion for all aspects of the paranormal, her main area of study is abductions and close encounters. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to present to you Farah Yudozu. You want the wireless? Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Hi, everybody, and thank you very much for being here, and thank you very much for having me here. First of all, I would like an applause for, for him. And for Anthony Michael Falsetta for being such a generous host for me, especially. Thank you very much. Being here with all of you means a lot to me. You are my family. I feel at home. Thank you very much. Especially, Philadelphia is a very lovely city, very historic city. This is my second time in Philadelphia, but the first Philadelphia was in my country, in Turkey, in Asia Minor. As you may know from the history of the Christianity, Philadelphia was one of the first churches when the Christian religion started to get spread, first in Turkey and then in Europe. So we still have the ancient city of Philadelphia in Turkey, in my native country. Well, I have been in this field almost more than 20 years, writing books, giving lectures, sharing my study and ideas with many people. And let's start. So what do I do? This goes, okay, yes. So right now I am writing columns and articles in 3 different magazines. One of them is the UFO magazine from United States. Almost everybody knows it. The other one is the X Times magazine from Italy. And recently, in England, a new magazine started, which is UFO Matrix magazine, which is great. I don't know. I guess they sell it here in the United States as well. So I'm writing articles for them too. And I'm always a program producer for Jerry Pippin radio show, which is very popular in this field. Okay, today we are going to talk about many things. Basically, the UFO activity in my native country, Turkey, and we will see how some earthquakes are related to sudden UFO sightings, UFO landings. I'm going to talk about a severe earthquake has happened in 1999 in Turkey, and during that period we had a lot of UFO activity. Also, we are going to see the historical aspect of the extraterrestrial presence in my native country, Turkey. As you know, I have been doing a lot of research on abductions and close encounters with the extraterrestrial beings. This is my latest book that I wrote in English, Love in an Alien Purgatory. It is the life story or lifelong alien abduction story of an artist, David Huggins. He lives in Hoboken, New Jersey, where I used to live for 9 years. I met him in a UFO conference in New York City, and I didn't know anything about him, but I noticed that he was showing the photographs of his paintings. His alien abduction contact story starts when he was only 8 years old, when he was living in Georgia in a farm. And since then, he is aware of what has been happening in his life, and as a trained professional artist, he has been painting and drawing his experiences. Now, the interesting thing is that in classical alien abduction or contact cases, the visit starts in the nighttime, right? Aliens or extraterrestrial visitors come into your bedroom in the nighttime. But in David Huggins' experience, it was different because the first contact with this insect-like being happened in the daytime and not in a bedroom outside when he was playing in the field, in the farm. And again, this was continuing. A group of gray beings landed from a spaceship or from a flying saucer in the daytime. So everything was very clear. He wasn't dreaming. He wasn't having a dream. But after that, he was taken to a flying object in the night time. So this was the classical and very well known of the alien abduction case. When he was taken inside of the flying aircraft or spaceship, whatever it is, he was introduced to a hybrid woman. He always believed, he had the sensation that that being was a hybrid woman because she had the human body but the face of a classical, typical gray alien. Also, he describes that this woman, this being at least, it looks as if she is a woman, wears a wig. This is an important point because also very well-known alien abduction investigator Bud Hopkins mentions about the some hybrid beings who wear wigs. In fact, his patients mention about them. And in his first visit inside of the aircraft, he was given a nose implant as the first time. And he encountered many different types of aliens in this first visit. And much later, in the same area, he observed other objects, unidentified objects, not only in the sky, but also in the area, in the land, on the land. And in some of his experiences, he was taken to an underground facility. He was taken to an underground cave system where many UFOs were coming and going. In his paintings, he tried to reflect the most important moments, the most important times of his experiences. And as he describes, he had a very strong emotional and spiritual bond with these beings. In fact, since he was very young, since he was 8 years old, he lived very close to them. And most of the times, they were taking him outside of his home, outside of his room. But sometimes they were coming into his dimension, into his physical dimension. And after he was 16, 17 years old, they used him in order to have many hybrid babies. And one day, they showed him a room. On the shelves, there were many sleeping hybrid babies. They had mostly gray alien aspects, and they told him that you are the father of these babies. And this was the main reason that he has been abducted. According to him, these beings, these visitors, aliens, hybrids, were not interested in with him in order to teach him a philosophy or to train him. They just wanted to have babies. And in many cases, they wanted him to touch the babies, to have a physical contact with the babies. So David Huggins today is around 70 years old. He still has a kind of contact, but in the last 10-15 years, they didn't need him in order to have babies, but they still keep him close. For some reason, they need him and they don't want to lose him. And this was a very clear description of one of the babies that he had from Crescent, the hybrid woman. Now, his relationship, his bond, physical, emotional, and spiritual, was and still is very strong with this hybrid woman, Crescent. The thing is that years passed. Today, David Huggins is an elderly gentleman and he is 70 years old, but this woman, Crescent, never changed. He still describes her same as if the time has never passed. So here is the thing. Are they time travelers? Or they are not biological beings, they don't age. Of course, we are not in the position to give exact answers to these questions. Another thing is that, as I said, sometimes in his room, a door, an interdimensional door, was opening on his wall, and the beings were coming inside from that interdimensional gate. He cannot explain how this was happening, but it was, and still it is, a part of his life. And in today's lecture, we are going to talk about the stargates and the interdimensional doors, especially on the specific places of our planet. Now, this is a very clear description of one of the hybrid babies, and as we can see, it has mostly gray alien aspects. This case is from Turkey. A baby was born on November 10th in 2006, and it only survived 1 hour. But the case was so unusual that it became the news on the television news hour, and it was on the front pages of many Turkish newspapers. The baby's parents were a very young couple. They were recently married, and this was their first child. And of course, it was a big shock for both of the parents. They wanted to keep their identity anonymous. According to experts, some of the doctors believe that this unusual look was the result of a genetic disease. And one expert said that this is the reverse evolution, not from the ape to human, but reverse from the human to the ape. But some other group of experts claim that this is a hybrid baby. And obviously, it wasn't a successful result. Something went wrong. Baby was born early. And it caused a big debate between two groups of scientists. Now, as we know, a newborn baby, generally, newborn babies' heads are bigger considering the rest of their body, and their arms and legs are shorter. Here in this baby, it is opposite. Legs and arms are very thin and very tall, just like a gray alien. And the doctors described the skin of the baby as if it was plastic, as if it was not real, as if it was made from latex. And it didn't have a mouth, it didn't have lungs. Obviously, it only survived 1 hour. So these things, this kind of unusual babies and cases are mostly happen in the southern east part of our country, where there is always lots of UFO activity since the ancient times. Now I want to mention two important things that happened in my country, in Turkey, in 1999 August. This gentleman is a Turkish contactee. He lives in the southern part of Turkey, and on the right side you see the photographs of his UFO movies. In fact, you can find his UFO footages all over the internet on YouTube. His life has changed after August 1999 because of two reasons. And these are his photographs from the different times in his life. So I'm showing that he's a real person. He has a family, he has children, he has grandchilds. And this is almost his today's look. August 5th, 1999, he was visited by a neighbor who was working for the Turkish government on that time. The gentleman, his neighbor, said that he has been in contact with UFOs and with extraterrestrial beings for a while, and he has been videotaping this aircraft for a long time, and he wanted to share this knowledge with Ümit. Ümit had nothing to do with UFOs, although today is a big UFO person. He is a believer. He didn't take this seriously, and he had nothing to say because he wasn't aware of what is a UFO, what is extraterrestrial contact. Meanwhile, a few days later, on August 11th, 1999, there was a solar eclipse, and in many parts from in Turkey, we were able to watch it. And these are the photographs taken by the Boğaziçi University Observatory, which is the most important university in Turkey, on August 11th, 1999. So this became a very important public event all over the Turkey. Television networks had the direct broadcasting, and these are some pictures before and during the solar eclipse. Also, it was 1999, we were getting ready 2000, and everybody was expecting something different from the 2000. Spiritual people, New Age people were expecting that probably extraterrestrials will come, will land, and we are going to have a total disclosure, and everything is going to change. In fact, many things changed after the solar eclipse, but not in a positive way. And basically, everybody was expecting a spiritual evolution for human race. Meanwhile, there were lots of UFO activity in many parts of Turkey, and again, Turkish press is extremely open-minded and welcoming for the UFO activity, and whenever there is a UFO activity, you can see the pictures on the front pages of the newspapers. There is no cover-up, definitely. Okay. On August 17th, 1999, just 1 week after the solar eclipse, a huge earthquake hit a specific part of Turkey. I live in Istanbul. It was close to my area, but the center was far from Istanbul. And in 37 seconds, 40,000 people died. 7.6 magnitude. So while people were expecting a spiritual change, this happened. It was a total tragedy all over the country. It was horrible. So this happened in seconds. a complete city was gone. With the people, of course, not only the buildings. It says 25,000 people under the rubble. Yes, some of them were rescued, but not all of them. Again, the same headline, and it was a nightmare. We will never forget this. This happened. Yes. And it was 3 o'clock in the morning. I remember very well. I was up. I wasn't sleeping. I felt. But of course, we were lucky because we were far from the center of the earthquake. But not everybody was lucky like us. So this guy was lucky because he was rescued under the building, but many people died. And the problem is that they didn't die quickly. They stayed under the rubble for many days. That's a horrible picture. They are rescuing the woman, but under her body, can you see the baby's foot? Obviously, her child is not alive. She tried to protect her baby, but this happened. Okay, that night, just after the earthquake, all of us, of course, we went outside. And with all the neighbors, government shut down the electricity in order to avoid any fires. And I never saw the sky was so close to Earth. That night something happened. It was a cosmic change. And I never saw a sky with so many bright stars. It was as if a decoration. You know the Christmas decorations on the ceiling? Artificial stars. It was just like that. And we noticed that something unusual was happening that night. Some buildings were safe, probably. They were built in a better condition, but so, the center of the earthquake was the city of Gölcük, located in the northwest coast of Turkey, where many UFOs and the huge ball of light had been seen only a couple of weeks before. After the earthquake happened, of course, televisions, talk shows invited the people who survived. And everybody said that we saw UFOs just before the earthquake. We saw some strange, unusual lights in the sky. And after the earthquake happened, again they saw a huge ball of light. And there was no electricity. There was no chance to make a mistake seeing a car or seeing a street light and thinking that it was a UFO. Where all the electricity was gone, there were some flying objects in the sky. UFOs were back, and numerous bright objects were hovering over the disaster area. While this was happening, let's go back to our Turkish contactee, Mr. Ümit. He said, only 10 days ago, my neighbor mentioned me about the UFOs. Now, the earthquake happened, and everybody is talking about UFOs. What is this? He tried to contact his neighbor, and guess what? He was already gone. He sold his apartment, and it was impossible to find him in anywhere. Now, After this case, our contactee decided to buy a camera, a video camera, and he said, if they really exist, if many people can observe them, I can do that too. And suddenly, yes, he was able to videotape, and he was able to have a telepathical contact with them. Since 1999, this contact has been going on. And these are different photographs from his videotapes. And he can travel, he goes to different cities in Turkey, and he can still videotape them. It doesn't matter wherever he is. And when he videotapes them, he speaks. For some reason, there is a communication. And one of the things that he does is he shows the streets also. He shows the street lights. He shows other people's. And as I told before, you can find his videos over YouTube, just with his name. And this was a nighttime UFO sighting, but he videotapes them all the time, not only in the nighttime. At 6 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So, we are going to talk about a little bit about the movies. Do you remember this movie? Conspiracy Theory. And it was based on a book. It was made in 1997. So Mel Gibson was a taxi driver, a cab driver, and he had a theory in the movie. He believed that each time the space shuttle was in orbit, it was causing some earthquakes on the Earth. Because the shuttle was testing some secret seismic weapon that causes earthquakes on Earth. And in the movie, it says that he believes that the president's next visit to Turkey, United States president of course, to coincide with the space shuttle being in orbit, may be used as an opportunity to assassinate the president. So this movie was made in 1997. Our earthquake happened in 1999. So, in the movie, it says that they are going to cause the earthquake. Meanwhile, the President of the United States will be in Turkey, and he's going to die. It will be a good opportunity to kill him. And this was from the movie. It says, President to visit Turkey. And guess what? After the earthquake, President Clinton came to Turkey in order to show the support, and he visited the earthquake area because it was all tense and people lost houses. And he gave some little gifts to children, but nothing happened to him because he didn't come during the earthquake, he came after the earthquake. After that, of course, some writers, some experts claimed that 1999 earthquake was engineered by HARP technology. It wasn't a natural earthquake. We don't know. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. But again, they claimed that that area of Turkey where the earthquake happened has the same geographical structure of, and they wanted to see what happens if an earthquake happens, that magnitude earthquake happens in California, It was a test. So they tested the technology on Turkish land in order to see the results. And again, there were many books written on this subject. Something went wrong. It was out of their control. Somebody made a mistake, and it killed 40,000 people. As we know, there is a correlation between the earthquakes and UFO activity. These are from Mexico, 1991, and China, 2009. And just after the earthquake in Japan, some people claimed that they saw and they videotaped UFOs. So why each earthquake causes more UFO activity? What is happening upstairs and downstairs? Something is happening. We think that that cosmic energy, which is related between Earth and the cosmos, of course, activates and opens stargates. Stargate is the commercial name. It is an interdimensional gate between two dimensions, between them and us. And this is not a new concept. We are aware of galactic or cosmic interdimensional openings, gates, in all our history of Earth. There has been some very important openings, places, stargates on our planet. They were active before. They were the places where people doing their rituals in order to contact with these supreme beings. They called them gods and goddesses, but of course they were biological beings. More of them, some of them were in Turkey, in my country, obviously Egypt, obviously Peru, obviously Lebanon, Baalbek. Are they still active? Some of them, but not all of them. Do you know this place in Los Angeles? It is a mall. Okay. It's Highland Mall at the Hollywood Boulevard. And I was very much interested and impressed by the architectural design, because it was designed as a Babylonian temple. Very beautiful, in fact. So when you enter the open-air mall, it's a kind of open-air mall, you also enter a Babylonian temple with everything. Let's see some pictures. So that's the big gate. We call it Babil. Bab means gate. Il means God. So the gate of the God, the gate of the gods. And from the opening you can see the big Hollywood sign on the hill. Another picture. And between two Anunnaki beings, you can see the Tree of Life, which is the basic of Kabbalah. Interesting place. In fact, this whole decoration was inspired by a wonderful movie made in 1916 by D.W. Griffith. It is called Intolerance. Silent, black and white, masterpiece. If you can, please get it. There are 4 stories in this movie, 4 independent stories. One of them is a story in Babylonian kingdom, and in 1916 in Hollywood they created this set as a Babylonian city and as a Babylonian temple. And after that, in Hollywood, in that mall, they copied the same set. So in the movie, it tells humans' relationship with the gods. Of course, again, what they call gods were biological beings. Intolerance. Please note it and see the movie. And they almost created the same set. Almost. Now, Babylon means the gate of the gods. Obviously, it is not a door that gods open and close. It is the interdimensional stargate where humans had encounters with those beings face to face. Today, we call them extraterrestrial, ultra-terrestrial, interdimensional beings. But in ancient times, our ancestors called them gods and goddesses. So why in Hollywood, in Los Angeles, were built a copy of this Stargate? First of all, the name of Hollywood means magic wand. You know the Hollywood tree, and the Druid priests used to make their magic wands of this tree. Hollywood is a center of the magic of the movies, the magic of the cinema. But it is not a concept. It is real practical magic with rituals and everything. And in ancient times, in Stonehenge, in Peru, in my native country, Turkey, people used magical rituals in order to contact with the gods, because they were trained by the gods. They were built temples where there are stargates with the instructions gods. Why everybody is laughing? I mean, I don't know if he was here, if he was in our time, what would he say? Okay, Aleister Crowley, one of the prominent names of the dark arts and occult. For some people, he was a genius. He knew a lot. For some people, he was a spy during the Second World War. For some people, he was a crazy man. And for some people, he was a monster. Between January to March 1918, Aleister Crowley started to conduct a magical ritual in New York City. He opened a stargate, and a being that he calls Lem entered into our physical dimension. He made the portrait of Lem. He described him as a kind of gray being in 1918. And in 1980, witnesses were describing gray aliens, gray extraterrestrial beings, almost in the same way. So, is it possible to say that Aleister Crowley opened the door, opened the interdimensional gate to gray aliens? Practicing a magical ritual based on the ancient knowledge given by the Babylonian gods thousands of years ago to human race? Is this how we encountered the first time the gray aliens? Let's see. Another very well-known personality, Ron Hubbard. Originally he was a science fiction writer, but after that he became the founder of the Scientology. And today Scientology is a very rich foundation, it's a very rich corporation, and they have their wonderful, beautiful temple on Hollywood Boulevard, very close to the mall, Babylonian Mall. In fact, they are on the same sidewalk. You can walk 1 or 2 blocks, right? It's very close, 2 blocks, very close. So what's happening there in Hollywood? By the way, now we are going to talk about another interesting personality who was Jack Parsons. He was a rocket designer, and he was a dedicated occultist and a disciple of Aleister Crowley. He devoted himself to the ritual of Babylonian working together with magical partner Ron Hubbard to try and invoke a living goddess to change the destiny of mankind. So Ron Hubbard was also an occultist together with Jack Parsons, and they were practicing the Babylonian rituals, magical rituals, occult rituals, in order to invoke the goddess energy. They practiced the magical working called Babylon working in 1946, 1 year before the Roswell crash. They opened the portal again, but they were not able to close it. There are 2 possibilities. Maybe they couldn't close it, or maybe they didn't want to close it. And after that, Stargate concept became a very well-known commercial television and movies product in our life. First, the Stargate movie was a hit, and after that, Stargate television series, many different versions, Stargate Babylon, Stargate Atlantis, Stargate that, Stargate this, became a television brainwashing, mind control tool. Babylon, the gate of the gods. Another extension of the same television series. And in the center of the number 5, the circular part is showing the Stargate again. And it is very open. I mean, you don't need to know any symbolism in order to read this. It is very clear. Stargates always existed. Stargates always were the portals between our physical dimension and the other dimension. Always. This is another civilization from my native country, Turkey. Urartu civilization. They were the ancestors of today's Armenians. Very rich civilization. Very interesting civilization. And they described their gods as flying beings who had wings. And again, you see the god is coming from a circular shaped object. Now we will see it bigger. It is the Stargate. It is not a decorative object or a big belt. It is the Stargate. Now, one more thing that we are going to talk about. Do you see the flower rose-looking designs all over the Stargate? Now we are going to talk about that. This is the symbol of Anu, which is the biggest god, which is the biggest king of the Anunnaki. Anunnaki is the race who came from the sky, who came from the upstairs, Mesopotamian sky god. And that pictogram looks like a flower, a rose, obviously not a flower. It is a symbol of the sky god Anu. And we see it in ancient Mesopotamian gods. It is not a watch. Anunnaki, it is the symbol of extraterrestrial race. And it is the symbol of the Stargate. Today, we still use the symbol of Stargate in Catholic churches, rose window, it is the symbol of the Stargate. Because remember that the first churches were built over the pagan ritual centers. They were the places where humans interacted with gods. And today, this is a forgotten knowledge, but it still exists. It is a very beautiful architectural piece now. We like it, we adore it. But we see it only as a nice, colorful window. It is the Stargate. And we see the same Stargate symbol in many other architectural pieces from the ancient times. Anunnaki. All over. It is in the Metropolitan Museum of Art, Anunnaki. So, in time, in the center, the Stargate, and with two wings, became the symbol of the gods, because gods were coming from the sky. And this is from Pergamum, Turkey. By the way, it was a very heavy occultist center before the Christianity. And in Bible, it was called the throne of the devil because of the occult practices. But there was Anunnaki influence there. So in time again, this became a very well-known other symbol. I still shows the Stargate, and people started to use this symbol as the contact with the gods, especially in alchemistry. I'm not going to say anything because everybody knows what is what, but I'm not going to repeat anything that you already know. Okay, silence. That is interesting. Yes, so that is interesting. Madonna in 1980s. And this is interesting too. Yes, reptilian symbolism with the Stargate eye and the Masonic pyramid. Just fashion, trends, nothing else. Don't get me wrong. Hollywood, the same symbolism. Obviously, Stargate concept became the eye of the god in time. And it is all over. Last year I was speaking at Expo conference in Los Angeles, and even they were using the same logo. Why not? So, we are very familiar with the symbol. And especially, we see this symbol on the surface of many prominent churches, Christian churches. And it is a commercial logo, obviously. Now, watchers. According to the Bible, watchers were a group of angels who came down from the heaven. They basically came to earth to have sex with human women in order to have a hybrid race. 8 of the angels were to educate and to teach arts humans. They taught the making of weapons, the use of metals, arts, crafts, incantations in order to contact, astrology, cosmetics, and esoteric knowledge. With esoteric knowledge, they were able to open the stargates. Well, this is the symbol is from a very old grimoire, which means magical spells book. They say that it comes from the time of the King Solomon, because he was in contact with interdimensional beings. And they were teaching him use the spells and talismans. So this is a talisman. Of course, you have to prepare this with a specific special ritual, and if you carry it on you, but of course not a photocopy and cut and paste, you have to prepare it with a ritual, it brings you good luck, prosperity, comfort, happiness. And it is the same symbol. It is based on a talisman. Now let's see it again. It is the Stargate symbol. It is how it works. So, this is from an ancient book. It is the flying pyramid. Also, we are very much familiar with the pyramid-shaped UFOs. And for some reason, ancient civilizations built the temples, the gods of the houses, in the shape of the pyramids. Because maybe they saw extraterrestrial beings coming and landing in UFOs shaped as a triangle. So, I have only 5 minutes. I'm going to be very fast now. This is an old newspaper clipping from 1946, and it says flying saucers are over our capital city, Ankara. Again, this is 1 year ago, 1 year before the Roswell case. And we have the very mysterious Cappadocia region in the central part of Turkey, which they are natural rock formations. We call them fairy chimneys because we believe them in ancient times. Fairy-looking beings lived there. They were carved by the natural rain, wind, and snow, but millions of years, of course. And under the ground, we have the very famous underground cities of Cappadocia. They have 27 floors under the ground, and we don't know who built them. They are 10,000 years ago. It is a public museum, open to public, but only 6-7 floors are open. And 10,000 years ago, who had the technology to carve these caves in a perfect way? And obviously, they were not able to live on the surface. They needed somewhere to hide. And these steps were built 10,000 years ago. Today, you can see that they are in a perfect condition, considering that hundreds of tourists are coming here, going up and down, and they are still safe. According to some reports, visitors had encounters with two types of beings in underground cities. From 1960s, archaeologists reported that they had a close encounter with a group of tall white beings. In another case from 1993, the witnesses observed a hooded, red-eyed being in a very deep level of the city. So, I believe that underground cities of Cappadocia is another Stargate. It is another interdimensional gate with two types of extraterrestrial or interdimensional beings are still using it in order to enter our dimension. I had a very strange, very scary experience there. This was taken probably 15 years ago, and I lost the concept of time and dimension. Down there, there is no time. There is something else. The energy was so strange and intense. And we believe that in underground cities of Cappadocia, there was a half reptilian, half human race, and this was their queen. Again, this shows an ancient painting, the reptilian beings who live in the underground cities. Before we became Islamic, we were shamanic, and were contacting the reptilians. And when you look at, in the center, a modern time reptilian extraterrestrial picture, it is very much the same. Ancient artists saw the reptilians in the same way. Theosophists and occultists like Gurdjieff and Blavatsky were looking for the Agartha, the underground city of Agartha. That's why both of them came to Turkey and did investigations in underground cities of Cappadocia. Much later, underground cities of Cappadocia became the first place to hide for the first Christians, and they built the first Christian churches, as you can see. And Saint George, a very important personality in Christianity, who was born in Cappadocia too. He was Turkish. And from that, there is another contact case, but I don't have time. I have to finish here. So you can read them from my articles, and we can speak later. Thank you very much again for being here. Thank you very much.
I have
Okay.
Farah, we'd like to present you with the Free Your Mind Participation Certificate. And we really, that was just an amazing presentation.